Okay, we're in section 7.1. We're estimating a population proportion. Okay, let's look at the first example. 58% of adult Americans are regular voters. The parameter 58% is called a proportion. It means that of all adult Americans, 58 out of every 100 are regular voters. Proportions can be represented as fractions, decimal percentage, or probability. Yeah, does that ring true to you? I've noticed in my years of teaching, a lot of people don't really understand what percentage is. When you ask them, like, what does that really mean, 58%? So 58% means 58 per every 100, huh? You know, if I go to a baseball game and I say 58% of the crowd was wearing hats at the ball game, I don't mean 58 people. I mean 58 per every 100. Like if you break the whole crowd into nice even groups of 100, there'd be 58 hat wearers in every 100. So that's what percent means, right? And in fact, just think about the word for a minute. Percent. Cent is 100, like a century is 100 years. And so it's per 100. Percent means per 100. And in fact, that's why there's 2 zeros in the symbol. It's saying divide by 100, right? It's got the divide and got the 2 zeros. It's saying per 100 or over 100. So that's what it means. So if 58% of adult Americans are regular voters, that means 58 per every 100. So in every 100 adults, 58 of them will be regular voters. Okay, so in this section, we present methods for using sampling proportion, p hat. Kind of funny, you actually say p hat. Kind of a cute little name. It's got a little triangle above it. You call that its hat. P hat to estimate the value of a population proportion. The sample is best estimate of the population proportion. We can use the sample to construct confidence interval. We should know how to find the sample size necessary to estimate it. Okay, and then they give us the formula there, and then we're on to this first example. So let's just it's enough for intro. Let's do that first example together of computing a sample proportion. Okay, so I'm going to grab it. I'm going to grab it above, though, where it's easier to grab, right there. And bring it on down. All right. I'll pop it in right here for us. Okay, so let's do this example. Computing a sample proportion. I think this one will be super easy for you guys. In a poll, a simple random sample of 900 teenagers between ages of 13 and 17 were asked whether they participate in any form of content creation for the internet. Content creation includes development of web pages, posts to blogs, social networks. Of the 900 teenagers surveyed, 583 reported that they participated in content creation. Obtain a point estimate for the portion of teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17 that participate in some form of content creation for the internet. So what do they want us to do exactly? What are they saying? What does this mean? Obtain a point estimate. A point estimate. So you got to get kind of used to that verbiage. A point estimate, which means one answer as opposed, you might think, don't we always give one answer? What are you talking about? As opposed to an interval. Let's just say not, oops, that's scribbly. Not an interval. Not an interval. So in other words, one answer like, 73%, as opposed not an interval like, 70 to 79%. That'd be an interval. They don't want an interval answer. They want a point. They want one specific value. That's why they call it a point. It's not a range. It's not an interval. It's not a chunk of numbers from 70 to 79 or whatever. It's one specific number. So they want us to estimate what exact percentage of teenagers do content development. So what are we going to do? What percent? They're basically saying to us, what percent of teenagers do content development or content creation for the internet? You see what we're going to do? Just 583 over 900, huh? There's nothing more to it than that. 583 divided by 900. Because that's the part over the whole, isn't it? And that's what they're telling us in this formula right down here. They're just saying, just take x over n. That they call this x, they call this n. So it's just 5, I guess, I don't know if that really matters at all. Just take your calculator and take 583 and divide by 900. You're going to get a percentage. I'm getting 0.64, just like a bunch of sevens, like forever. And I don't know where they want it to round. And they want, well, we can just leave the answer that way, or you could give it as a percentage, 64.777%. And I don't care, how far you round it or whatever. You can give a decimal or a percentage. When we go to percentage, we got to move the decimal 2 places, right? Because it's dividing by 100, right? 2 zeros. That's why there's 2 zeros in the percentage symbol, because it means per 100%. Anyway, so 0.6477 or move the decimal 2 places. Either way, percentage or decimal, either one's good. And so
we don't
that's
round. I'm sorry.
Question?
We don't round up like to 65% or?
No, this is not a sample size.
Oh, so then precise.
Yeah, good question. That's only when you're trying to find the set, like how many mice or how many teenagers should we put in the study. That's not what we're doing here. We're not figuring out how many teenagers need to be included in the study to get the results we want to get. This is just about what percentage of teenagers do the content creation. 64.777. Is that good? Is that making sense there?
Yeah, got it.
Hey, any questions I can answer? Well, I have a question, but feel free to speak up if you have questions. Why do we call it an estimate? Well, isn't it exact? I mean, why are we saying it's an estimate?
Does it have something to do with the random sample because it's just a portion of teenagers in, I don't know.
Yeah. I was just wanting one more word from you there. You're right on track. It's just a portion of teenagers in the whole world. Yeah, it's because remember, so you've got it. I just want to make sure that we're clear. Remember, what are we doing in statistics? We're using a small sample, or that's kind of a big sample, 900 teenagers, to figure out what's true of all teenagers in the entire world, United States, whatever. You know what I mean? So we're always trying to figure out what are the true principles and things for the whole population. We do it by grabbing a small sample. So that's why we call this an estimate. Because for the 900 teenagers we surveyed, exactly 64.77% of them were content creation teenagers. So that's our estimate for what's probably true or close to true for the entire United States population. Probably about 64.77% of the whole teenager population in the United States does content creation for the internet. That's why we call it an estimate, though, because it only came from a group of 900. It's not for sure the true value for the whole population of the United States, but it's the best estimate we have. It's what we got when we surveyed 900 teenagers, which is always what we're doing in statistics, is surveying a group. That good? Any questions I can answer on this one? That's all I want. Just divide those two numbers. And that is called, remember the terminology, because on the exam, it's all going to be there and you're going to need to recognize that term. Point estimate. That means not an interval, not a range of numbers like 70 to 79, but one percentage. What specific percentage do you think of teenagers are content creation in the whole United States? Well, we think 64.77 because that's the percentage of our 900. So there we go.